Good day, colleagues, and welcome to this session wherever you're watching from. It's a first experience for all of us, including me. My name is Mohapi. I'm a subject advisor for English GET. I'm going to take you through this paper, question by question, to assist you with the marking. The purpose of this session, actually, I might have already spoke about it, but remember, the purpose here is to discuss the memo for us to be able to mark as accurately as possible. The purpose is not to change the memo or to effect some changes in the memo, but the memo stays as it is, and what we are going to do is to better position ourselves for the accurate marking. And let me say this to you, the best way to mark accurately is to write the paper yourself. Start by writing the paper as the teacher. That will give you a better understanding of the paper, and it will also improve your marking, as you'll be in the position to eliminate unnecessary allocation of marks or denying learners marks where they deserve. I'm quite aware that now some of you might have already started marking, but you might also find it necessary to make some changes with regard to your marking. And I hope that now this will be helpful to everyone, and colleagues, enjoy. Now let's get to the paper. Okay, I'm trying to adjust well here so that now we could deal with these questions as they come. The first question, questions are multiple choice questions based on the text read. And each question has an instruction, and the instruction goes like, circle the letter of the correct answer. Why did the author write the story? Now what learners have to do then is to circle the letter of the correct answer. But colleagues, remember that now it's not always that now a learner will circle the letter of the correct answer. Some learners may circle the whole sentence, or may make a tick on the whole sentence. Then we need not to deny the marks on issues like those. Now when you look at the memo clearly indicates that now it's number C. In other words, a learner can write C, or in some instances, some learners will write the whole statement as given. Then we still allocate the marks. And very important to look at the mark allocation. Question 2.2 is still circling. In other words, question 2.2, that they need the same skill, but it's very important to note what I alluded to you earlier, that circling the right letter or writing the whole statement is also correct. For 2.1, the correct answer is number A. Who are the main characters in the story? Thunder and lightning. That is the correct answer. Let's move over to 2.2. Which word best describes lightning? Now when we look at the memo, the correct answer there, that is 2.2, it's A, or unfriendly. I hope you are able to see this well wherever you are. Remember that now it's new to you. I'm also trying to adjust. Question 3 is still circling. And choose the correct statement from those listed below. And also question 3.2, those questions, colleagues, they just need learners to circle the correct answer. And basically the skill is the same. So I'll move over to the next question, because when you look at question 2.1 up to 3.3, they need the same skill. Learners just have to circle the correct answer. Okay, let's come to question 4. Still circling. A lot of multiple choice questions here, colleagues, and I believe that now learners will be able to perform in this paper. It's not that difficult here. They were given bread and butter. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Who is the narrator of the story? The correct answer, according to the memo, or you can say the third person narrator, as is indicated in the question paper, then that's the correct answer. Now, question 5, it comes up with a different skill. Do you agree that thunder and lightning had to leave the village and live in the sky, you have to give a reason to support your answer. Now, this is very important, colleagues. Elena will say, when you look at the memo, Elena will say, can say yes or agree. But what is important, we are not going to allocate a mark to yes if there is no motivation. It has to be yes or I agree, and Elena must substantiate that, must give a reason. Now, those are different responses that learners can give. The first one is yes or I agree to avoid trouble in the village. Yes. Motivation, they cause trouble, chaos, mayhem. Or if Elena says no, remember with yes or no, we say you allocate marks in accordance with the reason given. Elena may say no. It was a very harsh punishment to be far away from all the people. Very important. The reason must agree, must support yes or no. That's very key, colleagues there. Or Elena may say no, they must tolerate each other. No, they must change their behavior. No, they must change their attitude. Now let us look at what the memo says here. It says, award 1 mark for yes or no. Very important, only award the mark for yes or no if the candidate has provided a reason. In other words, yes or no on its own does not guarantee marks. Marks will only come if there is a reason that supports either yes or no. And the second part, award 1 mark for the reason. In other words, like it's indicated here, it's 1 mark for yes, and total will get 2 marks for that question. But if it's yes without a reason, or if it's a reason without no or yes, you are not going to allocate any marks because you won't know that whether that motivation is for yes or for no. So it's very important for a child to indicate yes, give a reason, no, give a reason. If it's a reason only without yes or no, no marks should be allocated. The same with if it's only yes. Okay, this part here is or award 2 marks if the reason motivation is correct and a position stance is evident to suggest yes, no, or I agree or I disagree. Do not accept true or false. Why? Because true and yes are not the same. False and no are not the same. So here we do not accept true or false. We only accept I agree or I disagree, yes or no with the right motivation. Now let's move over to question 6. Describe where thunder and lightning lived at first. Base your answer on the information in the text. So let us look at what the memo gives us. Remember, very important, base your answer on the information in the text. That is question number 6. Now the memo says, thunder and lightning lived in the village. You allocate a mark among the people or among the inhabitants. You allocate the mark on earth, in Nigeria, in a farm area, or in a rural area. Now, this is a very important part that you need to look at. Accept any 2 correct reasons. At least 2 key words must be included. In other words, thunder and lightning lived in the village among the people. 2 key words must be indicated. Award 1 mark for each keyword. Also very important. I think, colleagues, we understand that very well. That now that question carries 2 marks, but it's very important that now 2 keywords should be indicated. Yeah, in the village, among the people, or in the inhabitants, or in the rural. Multiple choice questions once more. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Surely by now, colleagues, you are quite familiar with this one. He licks the patterns of his plate. Line 11. Look at the above code. How does Timothy feel? Now the correct answer there, it's C, which means Timothy feels hungry. That is the correct answer. And the good thing with multiple choice, colleagues, is that now we only have one correct answer. We can't have two. So C is the correct answer. Remember that now Elena may write C or may write the word hungry. Seven point two. Identify the figure of speech in line 3. So you go to your poem and then you look at line 3, and now the figure of speech in line 3, let's check what line 3 is. Ears like, okay, here is line 3. Ears like bombs and teeth like splinters. So the figure of speech used there, when we look at the memo, it's A, which is simile. So that's the correct answer. And the number 2, identify the figure of speech in down, dead. That is line 10 of the poem. Now let's look at line 10. 5. He licks the patterns of his plate. From the poem. This is line 10. And he shoots down dead the arithmetic bed. Now this is the focus. Let's look. Down, dead. Which figure of speech is that? And the correct one is A. The correct one is A, which is, where is that A? Number 7. Number 7.3, which is alliteration. That is the correct answer. And the next question goes like, okay, the next question will be question number 8, based on the busting the bullies. Based on this text, we have this text, busting the bullies. Now all the questions that are going to follow, and I believe that is question 8 up to, okay, we'll see how far those questions go. These are questions that are going to be based on this text. Now let's go to the questions. I'm not reading the text for you, colleagues, because I believe you read the text. Remember that now you must have answered the question paper yourself before you start marking. That will help you a lot. So number 8, circle the letter of the correct answer. Why did the writer write this passage? And according to the memo, the answer is number D. Here is D. The author wants to give readers information about the effects of bullying. That is why he wrote the passage. Number 9. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Which paragraph provides the best description of bullying? We have those 4 options there. And when you look at number 9, according to the memo, the correct answer is B, and this is correct. This is the paragraph that best describes bullying. The correct answer is number B. Next question. Circle the letter of the correct answer. How does bullying make the reader feel? I'm sure that now we all agree that now bullying won't make you feel relaxed, strong, or happy, but it will only make you feel what? Number 10, upset. Bullying makes you feel upset because it makes you feel upset because it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And then the next question is question 11. The article called Busting the Bullies was published in a, let us look at the memo. That is number 11. And that was published in a magazine or U magazine. A learner here, colleagues, may write a magazine. You award a mark for that. Or a learner may write U magazine. You also award a mark for that. So don't penalize a learner simply because now the learner wrote magazine, doesn't write the name of the magazine. Even if the learner just writes magazine, it's a mark. Your magazine is also a mark. Number 12. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Identify the topic sentence in paragraph 5. Now, colleagues, when you go to your text, you will see there is paragraph 5. Then it has about 7 lines. And then the topic sentence in that paragraph 5. What question was that? I didn't. Topic sentence in that paragraph 5. Let us look at what the memo says. That is number 12. It's number A. A is the correct answer. Cyberbullying can be far more dangerous and hurtful than other forms of bullying. Now we move over to the next question, which is number 13. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Choose the best meaning of the word egocentric, paragraph 3, as it is used in the text. And then we go through that. And that is 13.1. And the memo says the correct answer is number B. So we have 4 options. They enjoy hurting people. They think only of themselves. They think a lot about themselves. They like to boast about hurting others. But now the correct answer there is number egocentric. The way it is used in the text, it means they think only of themselves. 13.2. What does the following quote mean? Bullies vent their feelings, paragraph 4. 4 options are given. They express their feelings. Their actions are aggressive. They boast about their emotions. They breathe deeply when angry. Now let's look at what the memo says. That was number 13.2. The correct answer is A. They express their feelings. That's the correct answer. Number 14, which tests a different skill. According to the passage, why is cyberbullying easier than bullying in the past? Why is cyberbullying easier than bullying in the past? Let us look at the memo, and that is number 14. Messages are distributed widely. That is why cyberbullying is easier than in the past. Remember that now in the past, the people have to write notes in the classroom and that type of stuff. But now, messages are distributed widely. Messages are distributed quickly. Messages cause immediate humiliation or disgust. So with messages are distributed, is because now people are using the internet or the SMSs, whatever. But now, these are distributed quite faster than in the past, where now one had to write notes on a piece of paper. So any of those 3 options, and it gives an alternative on this side, colleagues. Accept any one of the correct answers. So if a learner comes up with the correct answer with regard to that, based on the text, then we allocate a mark. What does the description backed by a gang of supporters in paragraph 1 convey about bullies? Very good question that will get our learners thinking. Now let's look at the memo. Bullies are popular people. And remember that now they are popular amongst their gang. Bullies are popular people. Bullies have lots of followers, friends. Bullies are seen as heroes by those in their own community. Like for instance, if Elena is a bully in a classroom, then he will be a hero in that classroom, but not in a society as large. So bullies are seen as heroes. Bullies have lots of followers. Bullies are popular people. They are popular among their peers. Accept, award 1 mark for any one of the correct answers, or award 1 mark for a reasonable answer. In other words, Elena may come up with a different response from the ones given. Then as long as that response is reasonable, then you allocate a mark. The next question, which is question number 16. What do you conclude about bullies from the description below? Picks on a vulnerable person. What do you conclude about that? Now let's go to a memo. Because this is basically own point of view. It's a question that requires own point of view in terms of what do I conclude as an individual based on that. Then that's question number 16. Then it says, bullies are cowards. Bullies are cowards. Bullies are sadists. Bullies are aggressive. Bullies are violent. Bullies are forceful. So these are the conclusions that now Elena may come up with. Now let's look at this one. It says, accept any one of the correct answers for 2 marks. In other words, for a reasonable response that Elena gives you, allocate 2 marks. A reasonable answer, a substantial or well-motivated answer is awarded 2 marks. A mediocre yet relevant response is awarded 1 mark. I think this is also very important, colleagues, that you are not going to allocate 2 marks for the sake of the question has 2 marks, it's awarded 2 marks, but now we need to look at the reasonability of the response that now Elena gives. That's also very important. The next question is question 17, based on the visual literacy. We have that as a text from which learners have to exhaust, to get responses. Now the first question goes like, okay, it's a graph, percentage of languages spoken, and then this side we have those languages. Then on the y-axis we have the percentages. According to the graph, which language is most widely spoken by South Africans? Now they've got to look at the graph and come up with the language that is mostly spoken in South Africa. Then we go to the memo, page 17. And the correct answer is isiZulu. isiZulu. Yeah, I'm saying it now rightly. The next answer, 17.2. According to the graph, Which language is the least spoken language in South Africa? So looking at the graph also, because the graph indicates in percentages how many people read that. And let's look at the memo for 17.2. The correct one is Isindebele, and it agrees with the graph. So if Elena says that, that learner will get a mark, and that's the only correct answer, colleagues. So for section 1, in total is 26 marks, as you can see here. That was for section A. Now let's move over to the next section, which is section B. Here the focus is on language aspects. The following extract contains 6 errors. Rewrite the passage correctly. Underline the corrections you have made. Very important, colleagues. Learners have to come up with 6 errors. And now they underlined that. Hence is allocated 6 marks. Also very important when you look at this question, colleagues, there is a possibility that now not all learners will rewrite this text, but others will decide to make corrections on the given text. Like for instance, a learner may write if correctly, starting with a capital letter, you need to allocate a mark, even if the learner did not rewrite that sentence. It's very important. Now if, 6 errors in the extract, let us look at how marks are allocated. Now from this extract, if it's written in capital letter, the learner will get a mark if he writes I. If he starts that sentence with a capital letter, I, capital letter. Yo, this one. Yo is not correctly spelled. This is not how it should be like. Now you have yo or you are. Now we allocate the second mark. And being bullied, after that, colleagues, it's comma. Let's look at the memo. The memo allocates a mark for comma. No any other punctuation. And the 4th mark comes from right, because this one is not correctly spelled. So the correct one is right. W-R-I-T-E. And the bullies, the plural form is not correctly spelled. And now the memo gives us the correct spelling. It's bullies. You allocate the mark for that. And the last one, the last mark comes from the last sentence. And this last sentence is a bully do not, from the question. Now, because it's a bully, it has to be a bully does not. And that also takes a mark. Award 1 mark for each correction made. In total, it's going to be 6 marks. Just to emphasize this a little bit, remember that now even if a learner may rewrite this extract, making mistakes while rewriting it, but what we are going to focus on is the marks allocated per memo. That's what we need to allocate marks for. If you are and comma, even if a learner might spell any of the other words not indicated in the memo wrongly, but we are going to allocate marks for those correct answers as reflected in the memo. I think that is also very important, colleagues. Let's move over to question number 19. Nineteen says, Change the following into reported speech. Begin the sentence as indicated. I planned everything carefully to avoid chaos, said the king. Now, they've got to start their responses in this way. The king said, and then they'll have to come up with the correct answer. Let's look at the memo. The king said that he, you allocate a mark for a pronoun, had planned, you also allocate a mark. Everything carefully to avoid chaos. That's also very important. 1 mark for a pronoun, it's quite clear, and 1 mark for the tense, verb change. That is also quite clear, colleagues. I hope that now those who have already marked have marked strictly according to this memo. And it's quite straightforward. 19.2. Change the following into direct speech. Begin the sentence as indicated. Thunder and lightning said that they were displeased with the king. Now learners have to start their sentence like thunder and lightning said. But now let's look at the memo. This is one correction that we have to make to the memo, because the memo only says thunder said. The memo doesn't say thunder and lightning. That is a mistake, colleagues. The correct one has to be as indicated in the question paper. Here, thunder and lightning said. But in the memo, we do not have this lightning. We only have thunder. I think that's a mistake from the memo. So don't penalize the learners if they wrote according to the instruction, not as indicated in the memo, because the memo is wrong here. Thunder and lightning, it has to be thunder and lightning said, comma, open, we are displeased with the king. And now let us look at the marking also, colleagues. 1 mark for 100% correct punctuation. In other words, if a learner leaves out any of the punctuation marks or a full stop is not indicated, you are not going to allocate a mark for that. Only 100% correct punctuation will be allocated a what? A mark. Another mark for the correct pronoun and verb. Both must be correct. So in other words, here, we are displeased. The pronoun and the verb must both be correct. If one of them is not, then you are not going to allocate a mark for that. I think that one is quite clear, colleagues. But the important thing that you need to take account of is that now is thunder and lightning. It's not thunder only like is indicated in the memo. And now mark allocation for 100% correct punctuation and for pronoun and a verb. The two of them must be correct. That was 19.2. Let's move over to question 20. Complete the sentence using the correct form of the verb in brackets. Past perfect progressive tense. By the time the councillors arrived, the king waited for an hour. Now, this is how Elena is going to respond to that question, colleagues. Then question 21. Okay, that is 20. Okay. Now the memo says, by the time the councillors arrived, the king had been waiting for an hour. Had been. Past perfect progressive tense. Had been waiting. That's what we are going to allocate marks for. A mark for. Had been waiting. The entire verb must be correct. I think this is also quite important, colleagues. The column on the extreme right. The entire verb must be correct. Two one. Circle the letter of the correct answer. What should you do if you have a disobedient son? You have to choose from the responses given. You ought to discipline him. You ought to discipline him. Oh, you ought to discipline him. You might to discipline him. You ought to discipline him. You should to discipline him. Now the correct response according to the four answers given, choices given, colleagues, that's question 21. It's number A. You ought to discipline him. No any other response except that one. 22. Rewrite the following in the passive voice. Begin the sentence as indicated. And the sentence goes like, they will obey the king's instruction. The king's instruction, now the learner has to answer that. They will obey the king's instruction. Oh, I'm sorry, this wasn't under the king's instruction. Now let's look at what the memo says for number 22. The king's instruction will be obeyed. One learner may say the king's instruction will be obeyed by them, but how are we going to allocate marks? Will be, it's a mark, obeyed, it's a mark. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Thunder and lightning were sent away to live in the sky. They had damaged the village. Now let's look at the options given. It's until, despite, because, although. Now 23.1 is number C, which is because. You allocate a mark for that. And then number 23.2, choose the correct sentence from the following. Four options given. They had to be banished because they troubled the villagers. They had to be banished because they troubled the villagers. They had to be banished since they will trouble the villagers. They had to be banished since they can trouble the villagers. Now the correct response, let us look at the memo, 23.2. It's number A. They had to be banished because they troubled the villagers. 1 mark for that. 24. Use a, okay. I now forget to place this accordingly. 24. Add a prefix to the underlined word to change the meaning to the opposite. Very important. What the learner has to do there is just to add a prefix. Let's look at what the memo says. Okay. The councillors were prepared to advise the king. The councillors were prepared to advise the king. The councillors were to advise the king. The correct answer, 24.1. Sub-prefix is un. Unprepared. That's the correct one. The word must be written in full. So if Elena only writes un and doesn't write prepared, it's not the correct word. So you have to mark that learner wrong. The word must be written in full. That's very important. 24.2. Circle the letter of the correct answer. Lightning did not listen to his mother and was disobedient. What is the meaning of the prefix this? Does this mean again, before, not, or less. Let's look at the memo. 24.2. The correct answer is C, or not. So if the learner has circled that, then that you'll award a mark to that learner. The correct answer is C, or not. (25) Rewrite the following sentences. Rewrite the sentence in the past tense. Lightning loses his temper from time to time. Last year, because you are using a past tense, lightning loses his temper from time to time. Last year, what are you going to say? Let's look at the memo. 25.1. It says, last year, lightning lost. So if then a learner changes that loses into past tense and it becomes lost, then you award a mark. Spelling must be correct, also very important. We only award a mark if the spelling is correct. The next question is 25.2. Rewrite the sentence in the future tense. Today, thunder scolds lightning for being disobedient. Today, thunder scolds lightning for. Tomorrow, let's look at the memo. 25.2. Tomorrow, thunder will scold lightning for being disobedient. The entire verb must be correct. In other words, we are not only going to allocate allow, will, but will scold, not will scolds, as it appears in the memo. It has to be like that. The entire verb must be correct. Underline the correct form of the verb in brackets. If they had not quarreled, they would have lived in the village. Let us look at what the correct option is there. 26. Would. So if the learner underlines would, that would be the correct answer. The correct one is would. And then let's move over to 27. Name the underlined part of speech. They lived in a small village. Now the underlined part of speech there or word is small. Now let's see what the correct answer is according to the memo. That is 27. That small is part of speech is adjective. Small is adjective because it describes that noun village. 28. Give the correct form of the word in brackets. Lightning caused a disturb in the village. So we have to give the correct form of that word in brackets. Let's look at what the correct form is according to the memo. 28.1. Disturbance. Very important, spelling must be correct. Disturbance, spelling must be correct. 28.2. Thunder and lightning must leave the beauty village. Now that beauty is not the correct form of the word. Now the correct form for that word, that is 28.2, is beautiful. Also, the correct spelling must be adhered to at all times. Okay, that was section B. Total is 24 marks. Now we move to section C. Section C. Question 29. Write a short story about a bad experience you have had. Use the information given in the mind map below. I think the instruction is quite clear that learners have to use the information given in the instructions or in the mind map. The following instructions are important. The length of your story should be 80 to 100 words. Plan your story in the frame provided. Here is a frame, colleagues. Write your final story in the space provided. Okay. This is the frame provided for them to write that planning, to write their planning. They are going to write their planning on the next page. Write your final story in the space provided, like here. This is where now they have to write their final. And now that is allocated for 45 minutes. Now this is the criteria. It's very important also. So that when learners write, they must know already what is it that they are going to be judged on. Your story will be marked according to the following criteria: planning, length and structure, originality, effectiveness of ideas, register, style or tone, grammar, vocabulary, spelling and punctuation, relevance. That is, they must stick to the topic at all times, because a learner will have to indicate type of an experience. According to the instruction, they write a short story about a bad experience they have had. Now here, that will be his topic. Now a learner will have to write his or her own topic here, and then on the next page do planning as instructed. Colleagues, one very crucial question here. We have this page on which learners have to write to do what? To do their planning. But when we mark this essay, we are going to mark it according to the given rubric. We have a rubric for marking of this essay here, question 29. And when you look at the criteria and the descriptors given, the marks allocated for each criteria and level says nothing about planning. What does it say to us? It says even if the learner failed to do planning as required, we'll only focus on the final product. The final product, because this rubric is based on the what? On the final product. In other words, here, we are not going to penalize a learner for failing to do planning, because we mark in accordance with what? With the rubric. And the rubric doesn't indicate that now a learner should be penalized if there is no evidence of planning. I think that one is also very important, colleagues. I would like us to take it into account that the rubric is designed for a final product. And it means that now, even if planning is not there, we are not going to penalize a learner for that. Because when you do check at the descriptors, they are silent about an availability of planning like it is indicated in the instruction. So we are going to use this tool to mark this learner's work, and the tool focuses only on the final product, not planning. It's good, we have to acknowledge, it will be good if a learner has planning, but no extra marks are going to be allocated for planning done, or no marks will be deducted for planning not done. I think, colleagues, that one is also very important. We need to take into account. Now, a learner will have written his final draft here, and this is the criteria we are going to follow to mark that learner's final draft. 3 criteria are given: planning and structure, 5 marks, language, 5 marks, content, 10 marks. All in all, it's out of 20. Now, one thing very important that I would like to bring to your attention is a learner writes a story about a bad experience he or she has had. Very important. Now, when coming to the rubric, you see, the rubric always should look like this. We start from the highest to, we move from left to right. Because the expectation is all learners should be able to perform at what? At that level 4. Effective introduction and conclusion. Planning has produced a flawless, presentable, and well-crafted story. In other words, when you look at the learner's work, his final draft or presentation is flawless. Then you allocate marks in accordance with the descriptors indicated here. Good introduction and conclusion. Planning has produced a good, presentable story. Remember that now, it's not in all these learners that we are going to see planning on the previous page, as I have already alluded to that. But now when you read the learner's work, you come across what? Coherence in terms of effective introduction and conclusion. That is that well comprehensive presentation. Then you allocate marks in accordance with the marks per level. Language. Effective and correct sentence structure. Highly appropriate register, style, tone. Effective use of wide range of vocabulary. Correct language usage, spelling, and punctuation. So if the learner has done all this as indicated here, then that learner deserves full 5 marks. But if a learner may have 1 or 2 of this, but now others are missing, then you'll be shifting towards what? Towards the right, where until you'll get to the right level, or the right level that now, the right marks that a learner deserves based on that. Content, complete adherence to the topic, highly original and mature ideas, outstanding achievement of purpose. Level 3, adherence to the topic with minor deviations, ideas imaginative and effective. 2 to 4 marks, that is level 2. Some adherence to the topic, ideas fairly adequate, gaps in coherence, partial achievement of purpose. In other words, when you read that learner's final draft, purpose is not fully achieved. Then you will allocate him or her that. And then for level 1, completely off the topic. Very few ideas, tedious or repetitive. Purpose not achieved. So this is the tool that we are going to use to mark the final draft. And remember, I just want to reiterate this, that if a learner did not do planning as indicated on this page, if a learner did not do planning as indicated on this page, what are we going to do? We are not going to penalize a learner for not having planning, because that is not captured in the what? In the tool that we use to assess this final draft. Very important, colleagues. The next question, that will be for essay, right? And the next, also, colleagues, when you mark this, remember, you allocate marks according to the criteria. So when you mark a learner, you need to indicate for planning. For instance, you may write P, how many marks did or does a learner get? Then you need to indicate, if it's 3, then it's 3. Then you'll write 3 like that. Then for language, you indicate SL, how many marks? If it's 4, it's 4. And then the last criteria is content. Under content, you just indicate C, how many marks did that learner get? Perhaps a learner got 4. Now, so that now when you come to a total for this essay, when you come to a total, we have to see total here is 8, 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11. We have to see very well, where does this 11 come from? So it comes from planning is 3 marks, language is 4, content is 4. You do not only write 11 because everybody will be able to do that. You don't do that. You allocate marks as indicated in the rubric. I think that one is also very important, colleagues. So I'm not expecting to see learner scripts indicating only a total without us not knowing where does this total come from. It's also very important. Okay, now let's move on and look at the next question, which is question 30. Now it's still a writing piece here also. This is what learners are going to write about. You recently celebrated your 16th birthday. Your friends threw a huge surprise party for you. Write a short diary entry about your thoughts, experiences, and feelings after the event. The following instructions are important. The length of your diary entry should be 60 to 80 words. Plan your diary entry in the frame provided. Write your final diary entry in the space provided. You have 30 minutes to complete this question. Bullet number 2, plan your diary entry in the frame provided. So when you look at the question paper, this is a page for planning where learners have to do their what? And here they will write their final or their presentation. Now also, colleagues, here, when we look at the memo, let me first take you through the criteria. Format, planning, and length, 5 marks. Language, style, register, tone, 5 marks. Content, 10 marks. Now the descriptors, for 4 to 5 marks, complete adherence to format. Planning has produced excellent writing, appropriate length. That is for level 4. Level 3, which is 3 marks, good adherence to format. Planning has produced good writing, fairly appropriate length. For level 2, which carries 2 marks, partial adherence to format. Inadequate planning has produced elementary writing, inappropriate length. For level 1, which carries 0 to 1 mark, very limited adherence to format, little evidence of planning, far too long or too short. The next criteria, the one of language, style, register, and tone. Highly appropriate language, register, style, tone. Vocabulary, highly appropriate. Variation of sentence types. Good use of language, grammar, spelling, and punctuation with few errors. Level 3, which carries 3 marks. Mostly appropriate language, register, style, or tone. Appropriate vocabulary. Complete sentences. Few grammatical, spelling, and punctuation errors. Inappropriate language, register, style, tone. Vocabulary limited. Incomplete sentences. Many grammatical, spelling, and punctuation errors. And then for 0 to 1 mark, which is level 1, completely inappropriate language, register, style, tone. Vocabulary requires remediation. Weak sentence structure. Text error reading. Now the last criteria, which carries 10 marks, is content. Complete adherence to topic. Ideas highly elaborated. Outstanding achievement of purpose. And then level 3, 4 to 7 marks. Adheres to the topic with minor deviations. Most details support topic. Moderate achievement of purpose. And the next level, level 2, mentions the topic with no adherence to it. Some details support topic. Partial achievement of purpose. And then level 1, which carries 0 to a mark. Completely of the topic. Few or no details support topic. Purpose not achieved. So how are we going to allocate marks then? This is also quite crucial, just like the previous, the last question I dealt with, underwriting. Marks are going to be allocated according to the descriptors indicated, the criteria and the descriptors indicated. Complete adherence to format, and then that carries 4 to 5 marks. So you'll find that now a learner has adhered to format and planning, produced excellent writing and appropriate length. But now in terms of the depth of this, there will be some variations. So hence now one learner will get 4 or another will get 5. Language, style, register. Highly appropriate language, style, register. Vocabulary, highly appropriate. Variation of sentence types. Good use of language, grammar, spelling, and punctuation with few errors. So all these, colleagues, we are going to use them to allocate what? To allocate a mark. In other words, these descriptors stated under level 4, we are going to use them all to allocate a mark. Because remember, in some instances, you'll find that now a learner will have what? Achieved this number 1, highly appropriate language, register, style, and tone. But now failing when it coming to the other descriptors. So that learner will not get 4 or 5 marks. Immediately, a learner misses some of this. Now that learner will be shifting towards the left, towards level 3, level 2, level 1. So that is also very important when we mark a text produced by learners. It's also very important. For level 3, under language, mostly appropriate language, register, style, and that. Appropriate vocabulary, complete sentences, few grammatical, spelling, and punctuation errors. So the learner might do well in as far as in as far as grammar, spelling, and punctuations are concerned. But if that learner lacks vocabulary, it means that learner does not deserve what? Deserve that 3 marks. So you'll be moving towards the left. I think we understand this one, colleagues. In terms of how do we use a rubric? We allocate marks based on the descriptors allocated for a particular level. But now if a learner misses some of those, then that learner automatically moves towards the what? Towards the left. In other words, he or she is now forfeiting marks. The last one is content, colleagues. Complete adherence to topic. Ideas highly elaborated. Also here, a learner might adhere to the topic completely, but the way he or she expresses his ideas, they might not be highly elaborated. He might be lacking when it comes to that. And immediately when that happens, it means that learner is now, in a way, moving out of this bracket towards the what? Towards the left, either level 3 or level 2 or level 1. That is, we look at all the descriptors indicated under that level. A learner must achieve them all for him or her to get 8 to 10. But now if he misses some, it means that now we are going to move towards the left. For an example, a learner might adhere to the topic completely, but what? Fails to achieve the purpose. So that learner will not get full marks because the purpose is not clear. Although now the learner stuck to the what? Stuck to the topic. And then level 3, adheres to the topic with minor deviations. Most details support topic, moderate achievement of purpose. So the explanation of the descriptors are the same, colleagues. That now if a learner fails to get all these, then that learner will be moving towards the left. And I think this is in as far as the paper goes, colleagues. I believe that now I have alluded to some of the mistakes that we may make when we mark, particularly when we mark a text produced by learners.